In today's video, how frequently should you be making adjustments in your fat loss plan? Guys, what's going on? This is Parvella from ProPhysique.com, and all this week I've been doing videos helping out those that have entered our transformation challenge. In today's video, I got a question that was in the comments, and it had multiple questions to it, but it all makes sense because it's a question that creates more questions, right? So first of all, I want to thank you guys for the great questions in the Transformation Challenge group, and I'm excited for you guys to keep making progress. This is when it gets difficult. It's been going for a few weeks, and I've already noticed a few people getting a little frustrated. I want you guys to pay attention to a few things, and this goes to anybody that's trying to lose body fat, put on muscle. You have to take more than one method of accountability, meaning you can't just go by the scale, especially if you just started lifting, just started eating, a really good diet, just started paying attention to your supplementation, your sleep, making good decisions. Body recomposition is a very real thing. So I want you guys to do these three things, and we'll get more into this as we go. One, the scale. Great, but check it at the same time every day when you wake up. If you eat, consume calories, train, it's gonna change. Our body is mostly water. So in the morning, after you use the bathroom, that's a good time to just check the scale. Two, take pictures every week in the same light, the same clothing, front and back. Three, take a few measurements every week. Grab a little cheap tape measure, do your waist, do your thighs, do your glutes, do your chest. These three things are gonna give you a really good insight into what's actually going on. So first, let's get into today's question and talk about it. So the first question of the group was, how long should you wait until you adjust your plan? Now, as a coach, I do a weekly check-in. Anything more than a week, and you're probably not getting enough data. What I really prefer to do is get a daily weight, okay? Why daily? Because if you only weigh yourself one day a week, if there's a fluctuation in your sodium, your sleep, your stress, the time of the day, did you train legs the day before? There are so many things that go into the scale weight that one day a week, it could be up a pound or two, and the other days of the week it was lower. So by checking it every day, you take the pressure off that single weigh-in and you make the weight an average. So now, let's say you have a day where you weigh 212 pounds and a day where you weigh 209 pounds. That's gonna average out. And what I look at with my clients is a few things, but I look at the average weight. So last week we were averaging 220. This week we're averaging 217, but today I woke up at 220. So if I'd have only took a look at the weight on today, I would have said, oh, I'm not making any progress. I guess we need to adjust. However, if we're down 3 pounds on average, heck, that is a heck of a week. We're making a lot of progress, right? We'll also check measurements, okay? There is no waist muscle. So if you're down an inch on your waist and the scale is the same, that can be pretty exciting. That can tell me, hey, we're recomping, we're adding some muscle at the same time as we're losing body fat, okay? So this area of our midsection, especially for men, the lower back, we're gonna lose a lot of body fat there. And if we're not taking pictures of our back, turning around, taking a picture of the back, we might not notice a lot of the visual changes. That's one of the first things that stuck out to me the first time I ever dieted. So I would say a week, 7 days, compare. Now this is a 12-week, 90-day challenge. So what happens is we're probably gonna speed up the process, just like you would if you're getting ready for a bodybuilding competition. You have a deadline. If you're not sure, I would typically err on the side of being a little bit more aggressive when there's a timeline. If you're just someone who wants to gradually lose weight, you don't have a deadline, I would probably say 2 weeks. If after 2 weeks you're really not seeing progress, then it's probably time to giddy up. But for the purposes of a shortened thing where we're trying to make a challenge happen, it's better to be leaner earlier and then have the option to bring food up later on in the process, okay? How do we adjust? Okay, now that we know, okay, nothing's changed this week, how do we adjust? The biggest thing I'll look at with my clients, and what you guys should look at, is what are the opportunities that we have? We have the opportunity to move more, or do we have the opportunity to not move more? I really prefer activity over calorie restriction. I prefer movement over, being hungry and starving all the time. And I know what you're probably saying, well, doesn't movement create hunger? Not necessarily. Low intensity steady state cardio, walking, which I talk about all the time, can actually make you feel less hungry. In fact, sometimes if I'm hungry, I'll drink a drink and go for a walk, come back, and my hunger is gone. But everybody has their own personal strategies. If you are someone who is stuck being very sedentary and you don't really have the option to move a lot, well, calorie restriction and calorie adjustment might be the only thing that you have. So how do you adjust? Look at the big picture. Are you already in a place where you're hungry all the time? It might be a time where we go focusing on more movement, activity, cardio versus calorie restriction. Are you someone that really enjoys movement and you could certainly move more? Well, then you can keep your calories the same and just add another walk to your day, another 15-minute walk. You could, if you're just walking outside, get on a treadmill. I'm pointing over here because I have one even though you can't see it. I like to, when I stall, I don't just add time. I don't just say, okay, I'm gonna go from 30 minutes a day to 40 minutes a day. I might say I'm gonna go from 30 minutes a day at an incline of 5 and a speed of 3.0 to an incline of 6 and a speed of 3.2. Therefore, I'm burning more calories in the same amount of time. So there's multiple ways that you can attack this. That's how I'd adjust it. Now, you also asked about training. Should you adjust training? I think of training as not a fat loss tool, okay? I literally put those things in two separate containers. If I wanna lose body fat, I focus on my diet, I focus on my cardio, my movement, my sleep, all the things that are gonna help me lose body fat. While technically probably working out, may help and aid in fat loss, the calories you burn working out is pretty minimal, right? It's about the same as if you just went for a walk. So if you go to the gym for 45 minutes to work out or walk for 45 minutes, you're gonna end up burning the same amount of calories. However, what you probably end up doing, because you're training for those 45 minutes, is adding some lean body mass. Now that's gonna have a really positive impact on the way you feel, the way you look, all those things. But when I'm in the gym lifting weights, I'm not rushing through my workouts trying to keep my heart rate up. I'm taking enough rest between sets to make sure that every set has my focus and intensity so that I am adding muscle. I do not think of that as time to burn body fat. I think of that as time to build muscle. And then I use the time outside of the gym, the diet, the cardio, the activity to burn body fat. So to me, I would not focus on changing my training style in order to burn body fat. Now, if your schedule is very limited and you only have a short window of time to work out, this is where I talk about things like Orange Theory Fitness, some of those things where they combine resistance training, high intensity exercise, and you get the most bang for your buck in a 30, 45 minute window. But for myself, and maybe for you, if you're going to the gym for 45 minutes to an hour and you got time to lift some weights, and you also have time to set up your diet and cardio, I prefer to keep training focused on the idea of building muscle. And then how much of an adjustment? How much should you adjust? This is the tricky part because it comes down to the individual. How many calories are you taking in? I'm gonna give you guys some examples. So when it comes to nutrition, when I set someone's nutrition up, protein's gonna remain pretty stable. And if you're just looking for a guideline on where your nutrition should be as far as protein, a really easy way to know how much protein to take in, set it at your goal weight. So let's say I start dieting at 230 pounds and I know I want to get to 195. If I set my protein at 195, that is plenty of protein for me to build muscle, have a lot of food volume, be anabolic all the time, right? I might eat a little more protein just because I like it. So I typically keep my protein around 220 grams. But if you're someone who's very overweight and you have a lot of weight to lose, if you're eating the protein that is at your target weight, you're going to be getting plenty of protein. That number is going to remain pretty stable. Fat is the most calorie-dense macronutrient, more than double protein and carbs. So when we're talking about fat, it's very easy to go, oh, well, we'll just pull our fat out. But hold on, fat is responsible for all the hormone production in our body. So you need to take in some nutritional fat. I really never like to let my calories drop below 20% for fat, right? 20% of my total calories. And my thresholds for that, for women, it's between 35 and 40 grams. For men, it's between 40 and 50 grams. And that's the threshold for the low end. So if you're taking in 100 grams of fat a day and you simply take off 10 grams of fat, that's 90 calories, right? So you can take off 20 grams of fat and now you're at 180 calories a day that you're taking in less calories of. In fact, I find that the way that I prefer to diet my clients is fat seems to be the magic thing. When we start to get those fat down a little bit, keep the carbs in a good place, keep the protein in a good place, the body fat really starts to churn and come off. So carbohydrates are going to be the biggest variable because carbohydrate metabolism is going to depend on a lot of things. It's going to depend on your history, it's going to depend on your preferences. And if you've been through a lot of fat loss phases, especially those where you've done ultra low carb, you might be adapted to lower carbohydrate diets, but don't fear carbs. They are not going to store body fat any worse than any other macronutrient. They don't drive fat storage. Caloric surplus does. Carbohydrates are also great for brain function, strength function, okay? And as an athlete, I like to focus when I'm going in the gym on just performance and make sure I'm getting good workouts. So I really like to have carbohydrates throughout the day to make sure that I'm training well. But that being said, the biggest variation in the diet is going to come from carbohydrates. So when it comes to how much to adjust, I'm going to try to adjust the diet between 200 and 300 calories total between the cardio and the nutrition. So let's say someone's on 200 carbs a day, 60 fat a day, and let's say they're doing 30 minutes of cardio. I might say, okay, this week, since we stalled, we're gonna bump the cardio up to 40 minutes, we're gonna drop the fat down by 5 grams, and we're gonna drop the carbs down by 40 grams, right? We're just gonna try to get through this threshold. And I know what a lot of people will say, it's the 3,500 calories per week deficit, but that's not really how fat loss works. Those numbers are not perfect. And how do I know this? Because I've literally seen clients where I just made one small adjustment like this, a 200 to 300 calorie adjustment, which wouldn't add up to that much. If it's 200 calories times 7, that's 1,400 calories a week. That shouldn't get fat loss moving based on the science there. But the science, the body, it's very dynamic. So it's not just an easy math equation. I've seen people start to lose weight on that and lose for 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, losing body fat without having to need another adjustment. Why? Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, okay? Our body is very dynamic. Perhaps we're getting better sleep. Perhaps as we lose body fat, I think our bodies become more efficient at losing body fat. There's these weird little thresholds that I see that come with a decade of experience in dieting myself, dieting my clients. It's not necessarily a race to a crash diet, okay? And if we're gonna adjust and our carbohydrates are starting to get a little bit low, that's when I'll start to say, hey, we need to add a refeed day. One day a week where our carbs go up, okay? Maybe our protein and fat stay the same, but our carbs come up. Why? To refill our glycogen stores. Make sure our workouts are good. The leaner you get, the more depleted your glycogen will look. You might look a little thin, a little small. Carbohydrate days can really fill you out. It's good for psychology for a few reasons. The psychology of, man, I look good, I feel good, I'm strong in the gym. Also the psychology of going, okay, I know today is a really tough, low calorie day, I'm a little tired, but Friday, I've got a day coming where I get 350 grams of carbs. I'm gonna eat all the oatmeal, all the bananas, all the rice cakes, whatever carbohydrate sources you really like. And so that can also psychologically help us get to that place in the diet, okay? That's it. How much do you adjust? You know, it depends on where you're at. I think a lot of times we worry about muscle loss. If you're eating enough protein, if you're continuing to resistance train, you will not lose muscle, okay guys? A lot of times a lot gets made about, oh, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna ruin my metabolism. I promise you, getting fat off is difficult. There are going to be periods where you question it, it's tough, but if you grind through, and I'm gonna help you guys, you can bring the food up gradually, you can drop the cardio down, and you can stay leaner. I document it all the time with my athletes. You can see a lot of that on my Instagram or on our other YouTube channel. I'll link it below. If you're not checking out Pro Physique Studio, we have exercise selections, we have video blogs on contest prep, and I'm gonna be putting some of our podcasts in there. So Pro Physique Studio is gonna be another great place for you guys. But the idea that to get the fat off is very difficult is true. It is not as difficult to keep it off. I'll help you guys with that down the line. Thank you for the great questions. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.